He was in my house, standing in my kitchen wearing my wife's scent, and telling me to leave like I was the intruder. That's the moment I realized. My marriage wasn't broken. It was already replaced. Welcome to Breakup Cheater, where real hearts break, secrets burn in the dark, and every story leaves a scar. Here we expose the betrayals they thought they'd get away with, and the strength it takes to rise from the ruins. If you've ever been lied to, broken, or forced to start over, you're in the right place. I didn't find out from whispers, from rumors, or from a suspicious text. I found out standing in my own living room, still in my work boots, with the stench of betrayal hanging heavier than the rain-soaked jacket clinging to my back. The man was already there. Tall, smug, the kind of confidence that didn't come from earning something but from taking it. He leaned against the kitchen counter like he belonged there. My wife, Sarah, stood a few feet behind him, arms crossed, her eyes darting anywhere but mine. "Daniel," she said, her voice brittle. "We need to talk." The man spoke before I could. "No, I need to talk," he said, straightening up. "I'm Mark. Sarah and we've been seeing each other for a while now. And I think it's time you heard this from me." I didn't move, didn't breathe. My boots felt nailed to the hardwood floor. "You're in my house," I finally managed. "Wearing my air, standing on my floor, telling me this?" He didn't flinch. In fact, he stepped closer, his eyes glinting with something I can only describe as challenge. "I'm giving you two options," he said, his voice calm but cutting. "Leave quietly. Walk away, start over, no drama. Or, be a man and face me." I looked at Sarah. Her lips trembled, but she didn't deny it. Not once. That silence cut deeper than any blade. The slow cracks before the collapse. If I'm honest, I'd felt the distance growing for months. Late nights at her book club, that always seemed to end with her coming home smelling like cologne that wasn't mine. Conversations that turned into one-word answers. The way her phone became an extension of her hand. Screen down always. But I told myself it was stress. Work. Life. Anything but this. Sarah and I had been married 8 years. We'd met at a coffee shop in the dead of winter. She'd spilled her drink on me, laughed, offered to buy me a new shirt, and somehow that turned into a first date. I fell for her laughter, for her stubbornness, for the way she looked at me like I was the only one in the room. Now that same woman was standing behind another man, too cowardly to even speak her betrayal. The ultimatum. Mark took a step closer, his voice dropping lower, almost like he was savoring the moment. "She deserves better," he said. "Someone who actually excites her. You've had your time, man. Don't make this messy." My fists clenched. I could feel my pulse in my temples. "You come into my house, sleep with my wife, and then give me conditions." Sarah finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. "Daniel, please. I didn't want you to find out like this." I laughed. Bitter, hollow. "How were you planning to tell me, Sarah?" "Over dinner. Between his sheets." Mark stepped between us, as if he had any right to shield her. "Choose, Daniel. Leave quietly or face me like a man." Breaking point. I didn't swing. God, I wanted to. Every muscle screamed for it. But violence wouldn't give me my marriage back. It wouldn't erase the nights she lied, the messages she hid, the intimacy she handed to someone else while telling me she was tired. Instead, I stepped back. My voice, when it came, was cold. "You want me gone. Fine. But you don't get to dictate how I leave." I turned to Sarah. "I loved you. I built a life with you. And this is how you repay it. By bringing him into our home." Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't move. Didn't reach for me. That hurt more than any scream would have. The silent drive. I left that night with nothing but my keys and my wallet. The rain outside felt like a cruel joke. Cold, unrelenting, soaking through my clothes as I walked to my truck. The drive was a blur. Red lights, wet streets, wipers beating back the storm while my mind replayed every laugh, every touch, every night she said, "I love you." Had it all been a lie? Or worse, Had she once meant it and simply decided I wasn't enough anymore? Pieces of the past. I stayed in a motel for a week. I didn't answer her calls, though they came less and less each day. I didn't respond to the texts. We need to talk. I'm sorry. It just happened. Just happened. Like she tripped and fell into his arms, into his bed, into a future that didn't include me. I thought about the nights we planned our future. Kids, a house near the lake, vacations we never took because we were saving for later. All that saving, all that patience, for what? For her to hand it to someone who waltzed in with a smirk and a challenge. Facing the truth. It took me 2 weeks to go back, not to reconcile, but to retrieve what was mine. My tools, my clothes, the guitar she bought me for my 30th birthday. When I walked in, Mark wasn't there. But his presence lingered. His jacket on the couch, his shoes by the door. Sarah looked smaller somehow. Daniel. I never wanted it to end this way, she said softly. I set the box down. Then why did you start it this way? She looked at me, finally really looked at me. I was lonely, she said. You were always working. Always tired. I felt invisible. I swallowed the lump in my throat. So you made yourself seen by him. No shouting. No begging. Just two people standing in the wreckage of what once was. The choice I made. Mark's challenge still echoed in my head. Leave quietly or face me. I realized then it wasn't about facing him. It was about facing the truth. That the woman I loved chose someone else. And no amount of fists or fury would change that. So I left quietly. Not for him. Not even for her. But for me. I filed for divorce the next day. I closed the joint accounts, canceled the upcoming trip we had booked, and moved into a small apartment across town. It smelled of fresh paint and emptiness, but at least it was mine. Rebuilding the pieces. The nights were the hardest. The bed too big, the silence too loud. I'd catch myself reaching for her side, then remember. She was probably reaching for his now. Friends told me I should hate her. That I should get revenge. But hate is heavy, and I was already carrying too much. Focused on work. On running. On learning how to cook something other than takeout. I picked up my guitar again, the one she'd given me. Now a reminder not of her, but of who I was before her. Weeks turned to months. Her text stopped. The papers came through. It was final. An unexpected encounter. 3 months later, I ran into them at a grocery store. She looked tired, older somehow. He still had that smug grin, but it didn't reach his eyes this time. Daniel, she said, surprised. How are you? I smiled. Not the bitter one from before, but a real one, thin but real. Better, I said simply. Mark said nothing. Maybe he thought I'd start something there, in the middle of the produce aisle. But I didn't. Because I'd already won. Not by fighting, not by screaming, but by walking away and reclaiming my life. The lesson in the ruins. Betrayal doesn't always come with fire and fury. Sometimes it comes quietly, in the spaces where love used to live. I learned that night that being a man isn't about fists or dominance. It's about choosing dignity over destruction. It's about letting go when holding on would only drag you down. Sarah and Mark. I don't know if they lasted. I don't care. Because their story isn't mine anymore. Mine is about rebuilding. About learning that self-respect is louder than any threat, and that walking away doesn't make you weak, it makes you free. This was today's story on Breakup Cheater, where real hearts break and real lessons are born. If this story hit close to home, or if you've walked through betrayal and come out stronger, share your thoughts below. And remember, your worth isn't measured by who stays. It's proven by how you rise after they leave. Until next time. Stay strong, stay awake, and never let someone else define your peace.